Now, the final preparations are underway for the U.S. Embassy move from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, scheduled for Monday. CGTN's Stephanie Freid tells us Israelis are overwhelmingly enthusiastic about the move. Palestinians, on the other hand, are not. World leaders are concerned that violence sparked by the move may result in heavy casualty tolls.
Street signs are up, lawns and gardens are getting a manicure, finishing touches are being applied. The U.S. government's highly controversial embassy move from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem will be official on Monday as a dedication ceremony at the New Jerusalem facility gets underway. The move is controversial because it cements U.S. recognition of Jerusalem as Israel's capital, recognition previous administrations and other world leaders never dared formalize.
This is our message to President Trump. It's not the capital of only one people or only one religion. It's the capital of everybody.
Decades-long policy had always been that the status of Jerusalem would be agreed upon in final stage peace negotiations between Israel and the Palestinians. Peace talks have been lifeless for years. The embassy move hammers a nail in the proverbial peace process coffin. The move is prompting mass protests on the streets of Palestine and beyond. Protests are predicted to swell on Monday as Palestinians take to the streets en masse. Humanitarian groups are concerned that casualty tolls will also swell as demonstrators face off against Israeli forces. In the wake of the embassy move announcement, Palestinian leaders turned their backs on the U.S. as a peace broker. Nonetheless, the word in local political circles is that U.S. envoys are formulating a peace plan they may reveal within the coming weeks. Stephanie Freid, CGTN, Jerusalem.
Well, Stephanie is still following that story for us. We can now cross over to her in Jerusalem. Stephanie, Monday will be a big day in Israel. Given the security concerns, though, what is being done to prevent any sort of violence there?
Well, not necessarily, let's say, in the Palestinian sectors, is the violence going to be prevented. It's going to happen. What Israel's trying to prevent is any crossover. They'll be putting certainly soldiers, border police, depending on the areas, to keep demonstrators, protesters from moving through border areas, for lack of a better word, between Israel and occupied Palestinian areas, to keep people from coming into the Israel part of the geographic map. In terms of the dignitaries, that will be standard security procedure, sealing off areas for security, a lot of police presence, certainly to make it safe for the people who are coming from the White House. President Trump will not be in Jerusalem. He's going to live via video send his own message during the ceremony, but his daughter, his son-in-law, the Treasury Secretary of the United States, and the Middle East envoy, Jason Greenblatt, they're all going to be at the ceremony, as well as about 40 diplomats from the diplomatic corps, half the number of diplomats. Many, as we heard from that piece, this is a controversial move. Many of the diplomats, more than half, will not be at the ceremony. Beatrice?
Stephanie, so how exactly will this U.S. embassy decision likely affect peace negotiations between Palestine and Israel?
Well, Beatrice, negotiations between the two sides is it's a relative misnomer, because negotiations haven't been happening between the two sides for a very long time. And that's not without trying. Certainly the U.S. has tried. Numerous other parties, the Quartet, the Europeans, trying to pull the sides together. Now, at the end of that piece that we just listened to, there is word that the U.S. team or U.S. envoys will be traveling with a peace plan, and that they're going to unveil a plan that they have within the coming weeks that would call on Israel to certainly to be forthcoming, shall we say, vis-a-vis the Palestinians. But the fact that the Palestinian leadership said, we don't want the U.S. as a broker, you are no longer a viable broker between us and Israel, and they've essentially turned their backs on the U.S. leadership, is that show No. At first, people thought perhaps that was a saving face measure. But right now, it doesn't seem like there's any peace process to even talk about or look forward to. Beatrice?
Stephanie, obviously Monday is going to be a very big day for Israel there. Just give us a clearer indication as to what exactly is the move from the Israelis that you've spoken to.
I mean, Israelis, for the most part, are very buoyant. They're very buoyed. As far as they're concerned, Jerusalem always was, always has been, is the capital of Israel. No questions asked. So on the Israel side of the fence, they're very happy. There's no problem. They're particularly buoyed now because the Eurovision Song Contest in Europe, Israel just won. So they're on a high right now, a streak. But there's a lot of, obviously, as we said, there's a lot of external public concern about this move. And the biggest is, as you said, Beatrice, protests, violence. What's going to happen within the Palestinian sector where they are so frustrated and so disappointed by this move and the declaration of Jerusalem as Israel's capital, that people are sitting back and saying, wait a minute, when do we get our fair share in the Palestinian sector? So again, back to Israelis, for the most part, very happy. But looking at the other side, that's where there's the discontent, and they're most likely that we're going to see fallout from that, Beatrice.
All right, Stephanie Freid is joining us there from Tel Aviv with that update. Thank you. We can now rope in Noor Harazin. She's joining us from Gaza. Noor, of course, major developments there coming your way on Monday. There's been a buildup of anger in Palestinian territory. So what can we expect on Monday?
Well, since day one of this protest, the Great March of Return, and the Palestinian people have been waiting for this day, for this Monday to come. They have been preparing for weeks. We are hearing mosques calling upon people through speakers, encouraging them to head to the borderline to fight for their rights, even if they get killed trying. Hamas officials from their sides, in many statements, they have asked people to welcome martyrdom, and they also stated that the borders of Israel are not internationally recognized, so therefore people should not respect them. So yes, we do believe that a big number of people will head to the borderline between Gaza and Israel tomorrow. It could be hundreds of thousands. People will try to cross the border fence, and the number of casualties could go really big, maybe more than 1,000, as what happened in the first day of this protest, the Great March of Return.
Right, so Noor, there are expected protests there in the coming week, but what options are Palestinians considering at this point, given the fact that they seem to have had an apparent loss of support from the United States?
Well, the Palestinian people have different opinions. For example, some of them, especially those who support Hamas, they do believe that the armed resistance is the one and only way for the Palestinian people to get their rights. On the other hand, other people do believe that the Palestinian president should work on getting a full membership for the Palestinian state and work on gaining the support of different countries, for example, the European countries. Either ways, it looks like the Palestinian people have reached a point where there is no coming back. For example, if we're talking about the Great March of Return, even though it was expected that it will end at the 15th of May, however, the organizers decided that they will continue protesting every single Friday after the 15th of May until the Palestinian people get their rights.
All right, Noor Harazin joining us there from Gaza with that update. Thank you.